Tonight's panel brings together voices from across the state and working towards solutions to help students succeed. This isn't just a look back. It's a conversation about what comes next. This is Crisis in the Classroom, the path forward for Alabama schools. Tonight, a town hall focused on the future of education in Alabama. We all know the headlines: failing schools, teacher shortages, and students falling behind. But what's next? In communities across the state, students are showing up, hoping their schools will do the same. Tonight, we ask, what will it take to fix our classrooms? And who's stepping up to lead? From school board shakeups to state takeovers, from small town districts to growing suburbs, we're confronting the challenges pushing our schools to the edge and searching for real solutions. Tonight's panel brings together voices from across the state and working towards solutions to help students succeed. This isn't just a look back. It's a conversation about what comes next. This is Crisis in the Classroom, the path forward for Alabama schools.
Good evening and welcome to a special live town hall, Crisis in the Classroom, the path forward for Alabama schools. We're just a short time away from the start of a new school year, but for too many families and schools across central Alabama, the challenges are anything but new.
And tonight we are digging deep into the root causes of those problems and bringing together the people working to solve them. You will hear from Chilton County Superintendent Corey Clemens, Pickens County Superintendent Sean McDaniel, Walker County Superintendent Dr. Dennis Willingham, Birmingham School Board Vice President Sherman Collins Jr., Mental Health Coordinator for Fairfield City Schools Emily Herring, Director of College Academic Services at the University of Alabama Dr. Carlton McHarg, Government Relations Manager of the Alabama Education Association Dr. Allison King, Executive Director of Scholarships for Kids Austin Hardison, and the President of the Central Alabama American Federation of Teachers, Erica Hughes. These are the leaders on the front lines who understand the stakes firsthand and who are working towards the solutions.
We also have new statistical data, real stories from the classroom, and segments featuring our live panel to help us unpack the biggest issues facing Alabama schools. And tonight, we're also going to break down what school choice means in Alabama and why it's become one of the most debated education policies in the state.
And this is more than just a conversation. It's a community call to action. So let's get started. Our special coverage begins now.
Earlier this year, Alabama made national headlines for its progress in post-COVID academic recovery.
And new results from the National Assessment of Educational Progress, often called America's Report Card, shows Alabama leading the nation in fourth grade math improvement. The state jumped from dead last in 2019 to 32nd in 2024, marking the biggest increase in the country, a 6-point gain in just 5 years. Alabama also saw a major leap in fourth grade reading, moving from 49th to 34th since 2019, making it one of just 2 states to exceed pre-pandemic reading levels. And progress is slower in middle school grades. Alabama's ranking rose slightly in 8th grade math and reading, but scale scores stayed mostly flat.
Tonight, we're also asking you to weigh in on the biggest challenge facing Alabama schools. Take a look at our poll question. You can answer teacher shortages, school safety, funding, or school choice. All you have to do is scan the QR code right there on your screen to vote.
We will update these results live in our show, and later tonight we will show you what people think is the biggest issue facing Alabama schools.
And of course, one of the most controversial and closely watched education changes in Alabama, school choice. The new law signed in March of 2024 goes into effect this school year. Supporters say it gives parents more power, the ability to customize education and put their children first. However, critics warn it could strip resources from struggling public schools that need it most and deepen inequities across districts. School choice gives families more control over where and how their children are educated, whether in different public schools, private schools, homeschools, or online programs. How does the CHOOSE Act work? The CHOOSE Act creates education savings accounts, known as ESAs, which is essentially state-funded tax credit accounts that parents control. So what exactly can ESAs be used for? Private school tuition and fees, homeschool curriculum and tutoring, textbooks and instructional materials, online courses and educational software, fees for both standardized and AP tests, as well as services for special needs students. Funds cannot be used for athletics, field trips, uniforms, transportation, or food. There are funding limits: $7,000 per student attending a participating private or online school, $2,000 per student for homeschoolers, capped at $4,000 per family. Parents receive funds into ClassWallet, which they use to pay approved providers directly. Any unused funds return to the state. There's no rollover or reimbursement. Now, one lingering question with school choice: who's taking advantage of it? The Alabama Department of Revenue provided us data on where applicants were attending school for the past school year and where they intend to go under school choice. Out of more than 36,000 applicants, more than 10,000 private school students will use the funds to continue to attend a private school. A little over 3,000 public school students will now attend a private school. 7,200 students will use the funds for homeschool programs.
And Alabama lawmakers are taking an aim at a major classroom distraction: the cell phone. Governor Kay Ivey signed the Focus Act into law, and this requires public schools to limit student cell phone usage during the day. Sponsors of the bill say it's a simple step to cut down on the outside noise and help students make the most of their time in the classroom. Tuscaloosa City Schools is taking a strong stance on cell phones this year. Take a look.
Each student will have a Yonder pouch. They'll get it, they'll take their cell phone, they'll put it in the Yonder pouch, and it is now locked. So during the school day, the Yonder pouch will be locked, and at the end of the day, there'll be magnets like this one throughout the school, and the student puts it on the magnet, pushes the middle button, opens the pouch, and the student has access to the phone.
The law also requires local school boards to implement internet safety policies for school-owned devices and provide social media safety training before students enter the 8th grade. Well, coming up, the data revealing the reality inside of Alabama classrooms.
From test scores to teacher shortages, what the numbers say about our schools and our kids. We'll be right back. Welcome back to this Town Hall special, Crisis in the Classroom, the path forward for Alabama schools. Tonight, we're breaking down Alabama's new third grade reading scores and what they mean for students, parents, and schools. Why even a small drop could keep a child from moving to fourth grade, and the state's push to get every student reading on grade level. At first glance, it might have looked like fewer students were meeting the benchmark to move on to fourth grade. But State Superintendent Dr. Eric Mackey says that's because the state raised the cut score last fall, meaning students had to score higher to pass. The cut score is tied to the 2019 Literacy Act and determines whether a third grader is promoted. In 2024, the passing score was 435, and 91% of students met it after spring testing. This year, with a higher score of 444, about 88.4% of students qualified. After summer learning and retesting, that number climbed to 93.5%. The bar will rise again in 2027 when the cut score moves to 454, one step closer to the state's recommended reading level of 473. Districts are also working with students who didn't meet the mark and alerting families whose and 407 score in the spring still have a path to 4th grade through summer learning and retaking the test, or if a student has a good cause exemption. Up next, school choice in Alabama communities. Our panel weighs in right after the break. Welcome back. Tonight, school choice is shaping a new education landscape in Alabama. And while options can open doors for some, others worry they're being left behind.
But the question remains, who really benefits and what's the ripple effect, especially in a rural district where resources are already stretched thin?
Now let's start with this. Who is school choice really helping right now in Alabama? Not everyone all at once, please.
Valerie, I'll take it as the executive director of an SGO. I think that the primary beneficiaries of school choice are the students in Alabama. Right? You have this program is set up to offer access and assistance to our students K through 12 throughout the state. You have certain families and certain students that have 504s, IEPs, or zoned for priority schools. These are options that are then granted to them to receive education that is more tailored to them or provided more resources for them.
What about after they receive those school choice funds? Are there still any barriers in place for students, who may be 30 to an hour away from a private school or another public school district? Do other students have a choice?
A lot of our families in our rural areas, and we're a poverty district in Walker County. So we know that a lot of our children are raised by grandparents on a single income with multiple children in the home. And they just don't have the means to transport students to private schools. They don't have the means to provide homeschooling for their children. So we take pride in educating those children. And of course we need funding to do that. And I talked with some SSA School Superintendent Association officials today. And so last year $125 million was used for school choice for private schools and private schools and homeschools. And so we could really use that funding to educate our most vulnerable students within our schools. A lot of our schools, the state does not fully fund counselor units. They do not fully fund assistant principal units. They do not fully fund nurses. They do not fully fund mental health therapists. And that fund being put back into public schools could go a long way to educate our children.
Sean, I see you shaking your head. Is this something that you agree with? I know you're the superintendent in Pickens County, also a very rural area.
Yes, we have a lot of students, and I think one of the things in the development of public education as we look back over history was to serve students and give an opportunity of hope and a chance. And when we take funds away from public education that provide the services that we were just discussing, as you all know, after COVID, mental health and many other things have struck our students across the nation. And so therefore, when you have those funds available, you can better provide the counseling, nursing services and things that are needed to our students to serve a rural community who just does not have the resources or the ability to generate the tax revenue to make up those dollars. And so it's very important that we do receive those funds from the state so that we can give hope and opportunity to all students to create success, because I believe in every child there's an opportunity to succeed. Not every child has the same not every child comes from the same walk of life, and so therefore a lot of children can't pick that because they were born into that. So if we give them hope and opportunity and give them a chance to create success, I think we see many people today that's happened to because of public education funding.
We hear a lot about, maybe public versus private, but what about these funds helping homeschool parents?
Yeah, through the CHOOSE Act, homeschool students are allowed to have $2,000 for that. So again, this is an access conversation. Mm-hmm. Megan, I would prefer to stay more towards the non-public school when it comes to the private schools that we support as scholarships for kids. But again, this is access opportunity in homeschooling. There is a section of our population that thinks that's what's appropriate and best for their children, right? So it's just creating access to that. And these funds are then used for, I had a conversation with a lady yesterday who is homeschooling her son, and they were going to use the funds for a Chromebook, right? So it's not just, there are things that are needed to, to have a great educational experience, and these funds go towards that.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to say that we want every parent to feel like they, that they're a part of the, the taxes and the benefits. But when we take funding from or divert funding from traditional public schools, I'm from a urban school district that depend on those funds for those tutoring, pre-K, as some of the superintendents up here said, things that are not fully funded by the state that we have to pick up in our general funds. And if those dollars are not there, in Birmingham City, we're facing a lot of competition or the onset of competition, and for every student that we lose, it may be a teacher that we may not be able to fund a program to have a teacher in the classroom. And already in a climate where there's a teacher shortage, it makes it more difficult for us to compete to get those teachers, to lure them in, to pay bonuses for areas where, such as math and science, where we need specialty teachers. So that funding is really critical for a school district like myself, where over 70% of our students receive free and reduced lunch. So we certainly respect the fact that, all parents want, or should feel entitled to some of those tax dollars, but the impact that it will have on our urban school and some of the county schools, rural schools, could be devastating.
How are you seeing this play out over in Chilton County?
Well, I think my colleagues would agree with me. We embrace competition.
Yeah.
We're not afraid of competition, and part of what we do and part of our job is to find out if there are people that are choosing a homeschool education or a private school education. Why are they making that choice? What is it within the public school system that they don't have confidence in? And it's our choice. It's our job to try to eliminate those things, and we don't back away from that challenge. Like I said, we embrace it as long as it's an apples for apples comparison, as long as we're being funded in a fair way. And one of the things, like Dennis mentioned a lot of things, but one of the places where we're underfunded is in transportation. And every year we're having to use local funds to transport students, and we're doing that so that everyone has access to our product. And I'm a product of public education. I believe in it, and I believe in the things that we're doing within the classroom and our system.
This might need like 2 people to respond, so feel free, but are there any safeguards in place for these school choice funds to make sure it doesn't create a 2-tier system for those who can leave, who can choose another education, and those who still have no choice?
Yeah, so, I think we touched on that a little bit earlier, in that we do have families, unfortunately, that struggle a lot. And once again, we embrace those families, and we're proud of those kids and proud of our faculty and staff who work with those kids, and we see a difference made in their lives. But we know that family structure would not support school choice as it's laid out in the School Choice Act.
And I know this is all still new territory for a lot of people, parents, school districts, etc. With that being said, do you believe that there's any confusion that might still be at play here as we enter into the school year?
I think there definitely is. I think from a parental standpoint, now you may can speak more on it than me, but I do think that there is confusion. I think that even as public school leaders, we're not sure how to answer questions, and we're not sure what our obligation is to field those questions. I will say enrollment's up in my school district, in spite of what you see. We have school choice in Chilton County and have had it for a long time. We're not zoned. Our kids can go to school in any of the 6 communities that they want to. The way we see it there is we've had school choice for a long time. It's just the funding mechanism that we're just now dealing with. I know that didn't answer your question.
I know you were shaking your head too, just from another perspective, seeing this confusion.
Valerie, I think there's a little bit of confusion with just new legislation that has come about, changes on the horizon, but even just the funding mechanism. Who qualifies? That there's quite a few qualifications. School choice just isn't wide open yet. So there is, for the AAA, right? Your family income has to be at 300% or below of the federal poverty line or level. For Choose, it's 250%. There's again a lot of reporting around this, but it hasn't been rolled out clearly in terms of who benefits this. And again, I would echo what these gentlemen are talking about in terms of access. As someone who represents an SGO, a priority of ours is to create access within those rural counties around transportation, right? Like, let's not just focus in on Huntsville and Birmingham and Montgomery and Mobile, the major areas, but again, access as a whole across the state, so that no child, again, is left behind. And again, this is about choice and opportunity, not pitting, one against the other necessarily.
Well, thank you each for your perspectives on school choice. We appreciate it. Well, that is our discussion on school choice, and we'll hear more from these gentlemen later a bit on in our hour.
Now stay with us. Up next, we have a look at the teacher shortage and what districts are doing to keep classrooms full.
Oh, good. I wrote my dissertation on this topic.
This stuff, look, I'm going to talk about what we're doing in the schools to develop teachers and so forth. Come put it on. Our hands are tied.
Yeah, I know. We should.
For that.
They tied us on that. Valerie tied us. You have to be, we're tied.
Yeah, I said that. Yeah.
We could have been very vocal.
Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Look, I just did an interview on it yesterday. So.
And I've been, we have to be.
Even though they're not giving you apples to apples.
Across Alabama, some school districts are struggling to keep classrooms fully staffed.
From burnout to low pay to a shrinking pipeline of new educators, the teacher shortage is hitting hard, and especially in the rural areas.
So how are districts responding, and what's being done to retain veteran teachers and recruit the next generation? And are those efforts working?
We're joined now by a panel of education professionals who are on the front lines of this challenge, working every day to hire, support, and keep quality educators in Alabama classrooms.
Now we want to start with this. How would you describe the state of Alabama's teacher workforce as we get ready to head into the school year so soon?
Well, at this point, we are in a shortage. Many districts do not have the teachers available. They're just not there to apply for the jobs at this point. So I would say a lot of districts around, depending on the area, you're short teachers at this point.
So I would say as we look at teacher shortage, in addition to the overall need for additional teachers, we also must be looking at the areas where there are shortages, and also in what subjects we find the teachers where there are shortages.
And I would say we're in worse shape than we've ever been.
Do you know why?
Yes, absolutely, because we continue to put Band-Aids on things and not address things head on. You know, we're not going to the teachers that are and support staff that are on the front line every day and asking them what they need and what they need changed. We're continuing to implement programs and data, more testing, and you know, how many times do you go to the restroom a day? How many breaks do you get? Teachers and support staff make thousands of decisions a day. And many of those do not even get a break during the day. Their breaks are taken from them for data meetings or learning new programs. Until we put a stop to that and find out what's really broken in education, nothing's going to change. It's going to continue to get worse. It's time for legislatures, superintendents, board members to actually spend the day. How about go in CMP and cook a meal? Spend the day with them and not watch a dog and pony show and see what's really broken and let's fix it.
I would say the vast majority of our educators came into education because they have a heart for the work. They love teaching, they love students. And I think if you talk to a general educator, they still love teaching and they love students. But the challenges they're facing that are drawing them out of the profession and are making it challenging for us to keep and retain educators and recruit new ones are the unforeseen things that are not actually teaching math or teaching reading. It's increased paperwork that they are drowning in. It's little to no parent support. It is behavior challenges with students. I mean, if teachers are on their feet all day like they're supposed to be working with children from 8 to 3, they don't have a choice but to do all the paperwork, parent emails, grading papers from 3 to 8, 10 o'clock at night, and that makes for a very challenging situation. It burns folks out. It's why we're losing over 50% of the profession within the first 5 years.
And we know the University of Alabama has launched this new program to help not only retain, but recruit.
That's correct.
Talk about this program that you've implemented.
We've been looking at teacher recruitment. I spent years in teacher recruitment and just relying upon students to say, I want to be a teacher. That worked somewhat. But what we decided to do at the university is that we created a program called Teaching Bama, where we reach out and we partner with school districts, and those individual districts support individual students. And the way it works is that students will take a spring class, early college, fall class, early college, and they come to the summer right before they're entering the university, and they take 2 additional classes. They live on campus, they participate in a teacher institute, and all of this time we're speaking about the importance. We're keeping those individuals who express interest in teacher education motivated to stay within teacher education. It's been worked really well. Our students, this initial cohort, this was our first year, almost $1 million in scholarships they received. So we're into our second cohort now, and we're looking for great success with the program.
Well, I want to speak to that retention recruitment in our district. Because of rural areas, it's hard to find even teachers that are turned out from the college to return home. So we've developed a program called Grow Our Own, where we take students in the 10th grade and implement them into a teacher pathway, begin to teach, go through the pathway with them, allow them to get dual enrollment courses and obtain enough academic hours that by the time they enter the college, they are set for 2 years left to go into the College of Education. And we had to come up with that because people are not moving to a rural district out of the city urban life for less pay to come into the things that we've discussed in here every day. And so we put the program in place, and this year we actually have we've been able to hire 6 to 7 kids back, students, young people that have been through, partnered with the University of West Alabama, and began to work with them in this process as we go forward. But I'm going to go back to what he said. I think we have a lot of, we don't want to lower the standard, but we have a lot of things in place that teachers have to jump through that they're going to come in and make $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. I mean, even if you're a Teams teacher, but you can go to the private sector and make $70,000, $80,000 and only have the college degree that you need. So therefore they decide, look, is it worth this? Because as we've discussed, they work all day, they're with children all day, they don't even have a chance to, a lot of them, to have a lunch unsupervised for that amount of time. So we've got to change the way with the new generation that we see coming today, and not the baby boomer generation, but a younger generation. We've got to see things different, from a different lens, and how we fund education, how we recruit teachers, how we allow teacher school day to function in order to get people to remain and to come into education, because I believe every teacher has a heart for teaching. That's why they wanted to go in the profession. But when they get out of the classroom and they get out of into the real classroom, they go, wait a minute, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I want to be a part of. And so we do want to create a reality for them. And I think our universities have spent a lot of time. A teacher of education used to have 140 hours. You had to get your secondary, you had to get your subject area, plus you had to pick up 30 to 40 hours additional education hours. Well, no, anybody else could get a 128-hour degree and be out. So you've got to look at that, change that structure model for us. So we work with these guys and the university as well to develop that around our local programs.
Can I
Yes,
go back?
of course.
I want to kind of answer your first question and your second question all together. First of all, we don't just have a teacher shortage. We've got an everything shortage. When it comes to guidance counselors, administrators, it's so much different than it was 10 years ago when you have an open position. It's just extremely difficult. So what we've tried to do in Chilton County, first of all, is the teacher training program through our Career Tech program to try to get high school students interested in teaching as a career. We partnered with a local business to give $10,000 education scholarships to students that are going to be pursuing education as a career in our county and make that renewable throughout their 4 years. And then what we're starting this year is trying to give substantial bonuses for our employees. We don't have a lot of discretionary funds, especially in a rural school.
Correct.
But what we've tried to do is set up a system where we can give, whether you want to call it a signing bonus, a starting bonus, something at Christmas, and then a retention bonus at the end of the year. We've tried to set that up in our county, and it may not sound like a lot, but at least it shows we care, and we're trying to do more than what we have done in the past. We'll see if it's effective at the end of this year. But again, something like that comes back to funding and making sure we have the discretionary local funds to do things like that. And most of us don't have a lot of money when you consider I've got 1,011 full-time employees. And so,
You know, another thing that, as far as retention is concerned, when a teacher spends 20, 30, 40 years in education molding our future, and they retire and have to get a second job because they can't afford to live on their retirement check, that's sad. So as a state, we've got to do a better job at looking and supporting our educators and giving them the respect that they deserve for giving us the 20, 30, or 40 years, because they shouldn't have to be able to go out and get another job.
Thank you for this. This was very insightful. I know this was a little bit shorter than our last panel, but we'll be right back with a little bit more on the school bus driver shortage. Across Alabama, the school bus driver shortage remains one of the biggest roadblocks to education access.
When you got a driver shortage, that means you don't have enough bus to pick up the kids in a timely manner, and you're going to create a problem for school attendants, parents not being able to get to work on time because their kids can't get to school because we don't have a driver. So what we try to do is address that need. There's a driver shortage nationwide.
Since COVID, many districts have struggled to rebuild their driver teams, and tonight districts continue to recruit, hoping to fill gaps before students head back to class next week. Let's go ahead and have the poll right here. What is the biggest challenge facing Alabama schools? Teacher shortages, school safety, funding, school choice? You can stay with us and we'll be right back with another panel.
One more time, I promise.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
They'll ask you what
One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
7, 8, 9,
10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 1, 2, 3. You got it.
We've talked about test scores, school funding, and teacher shortages, but some of the most urgent problems in Alabama classrooms aren't always talked about or making headlines.
We're talking about the hidden crisis, behavioral and mental health challenges that overwhelm staff and students, that the rising expectation that schools should solve it all.
Now, in this next conversation, we're asking what are the issues no one is talking about and everyone in the building may be dealing with.
And let's start with Emily Herring, mental health coordinator at Fairfield City Schools. What is one issue that you are seeing in your school system?
The reality is that we have a mental health crisis here in our schools, and that's across the state, that's across the nation, and the statistics are unbelievable. 1 in 5 students have a diagnosable mental health disorder. And so when we think about those students showing up to learn math, to learn English, it's impossible.
Talk more about that. What maybe needs to be in place to help those students?
We have to fund school mental health. The reality is that 80% of students with a mental health diagnosis do not get care from a mental health provider outside of the education setting. And that's for a variety of factors. That's transportation issues, that's not knowing where to start, that's parent schedules, student schedules. All those things are adding up to be barriers to keep students from accessing mental health services outside the school. And so we have to fund it in the school. We have to increase mental health professionals in our schools in order to help our students succeed.
What are we seeing in Birmingham City schools?
So, as she stated, mental health is a real issue. I can say that in Birmingham City schools, we talked about students, but I want to bring in a factor of teachers. The mental health challenges that they have, as well as their family members as well. So in Birmingham, we've been fortunate. Our local government has donated about $1 million to help with mental health. We've been able to put counselors in all 43 schools that we have. So it's been a real game changer for us. In Birmingham, we deal with the homicide. We've had over 31 I think about an 8-year span, 31 students. We just lost one now. So the challenge of our students coping with that and coming to school to do math and reading, so it is a real challenge, and I agree, we do need to fund it in schools.
And Erica, he brought up teachers. What do you hear from teachers, what they're dealing with?
Teachers wear a hat, many hats. They went to school to be an educator, but yet they're so much more than just an educator every day. And so not only are they having to educate, they're having to discipline as well. The behaviors that they see now are so much different than what they saw years ago. And being able to deal with it the way that they need to be dealt with is almost impossible. And so, like she said, if they fund, it would help teacher retention, because these teachers are tired of having to deal with what they have to deal with in the classroom. So if they fund it, not only if they fund it, but if they allow them to do what they are hired to do and not pull them to run data or pull them for another curriculum or have a data meeting, and actually be able to do their job and see the students or the teachers or support staff, then it's going to help with teacher retention and teacher burnout, because they're going to see a positive impact in the classroom.
What about what we're seeing in Walker and Pickens County? I want to start with you, Sean.
We're definitely, since we returned from COVID, we're seeing mental health on the rise. We have partnered with our local physicians and clinics to provide services as well. Has come up with unique ways to bring in mental health workers to help meet the needs of our kids in a rural district. You have so many challenges for kids in a district or rural district, lack of transportation, lack of knowledge and understanding what that mental health disability may be that child possesses. And so we're discovering more and more, especially with our younger kids that are coming into the school district now. So we see that it is on the rise, and it is going to be something that we have to address. But at this point, many of our districts are not equipped to address it, and so that challenge is falling back on administrators, counselors, and the principals within the school, that we're having to seek out to find resources to make sure that this student has the resources that they need to create success. And so we've got to address that before we can teach in the classroom to the core subject content matter that's needed.
What about Walker County? Do you have a unique issue that maybe hasn't been brought up yet?
Well, I'd like to begin by saying that we saw mental health issues increase during the pandemic, and of course we received ESSER funding during that time, or COVID money, and so we used that to provide 5 mental health therapists to our 17 schools in our school district. So the ESSER funding's gone, so we're now paying that out of our local funds, but we have to. We have to continue to fund mental health therapists because we know that there's a need there. And I tell you, the faculty and staff, the administrators love to see our mental health therapists come because they work with real issues. They save lives. I mean, we have students who contemplate, I hate to say it, but they contemplate suicide. And so our mental health therapists are trained to help these students with anxiety, with depression, with suicidal thoughts. We also need funding to help train teachers to deal with outbursts from mental health issues from our students, especially in our lower grades. We're seeing that more and more. We're seeing a lot of students who hit and bite and scratch. And so our teachers, they are really patient, and they are really to be commended for how well they handle our students, even without training.
Thank you so much. We've heard from our panel on a variety of topics, but there is still more to come. We'll be right back.
Hello, mic check, 1, 2, 3. Braden, can you hear me?
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Hey, mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Care.
We've spent tonight digging into the big questions, from school choice to staffing shortages, from classroom conditions to the pressures educators face every day. Now we bring this conversation full circle.
This final panel isn't about policies or policy talking points. It's about solutions, the kinds that can move the needle for students, teachers, and families all across Alabama.
Now, I want to start with you. If you could just change one thing this school year, one realistic shift in how our schools operate, what would it be?
I'd like to talk just a second about transportation because it is vital to the educational system, and I know we have over 100 school buses on the road every day, and we've been blessed to be able to purchase 50 school buses over the last 4 years. Those buses cost about $150,000 each. That's for an air-conditioned, state-of-the-art school bus. Right now, we're 10 buses short of being 100% air-conditioned, and as you know, it gets mighty hot in Alabama in August. But we have ordered some more, and they will be here shortly. And once we get that round of buses in, we will be 100% air conditioned in our school system. But we do need more funding for transportation.
What about in Chilton County? If you could pinpoint one thing, what would it be?
A dedicated source of funding for school safety, included health in that, the ability to put an SRO in every school building, put a school nurse in every school building, and then expand into weapons detection systems or metal detectors, high quality surveillance cameras in all of our schools with a lot of the technology that has come out that will help us pinpoint problems. I think that's our number one priority, is keeping our students safe, and also as far as recruiting and retaining employees that they know they have a safe place to go to work. That's somewhere I would start.
I would say part of addressing teacher retention is going to have to be first raises to do that, and then the quality of the workday and how it's structured so that teachers actually have an opportunity to have a lunch break during that time of the day, making the job more conducive to an environment that they can, and one of the things that's very important is our support staff. We're in a teacher school bus shortage of drivers right now. We've got to raise our support staff and take care of them. And when we give these raises, we don't need to, on the backside of having, a lot of times we get a raise and then we've had in the past where we've had to turn that over to P-HIP or money or insurance. So we need to go, to continue to raise the sources for them.
We have totally underfunded mental health, and it's creating a crisis in our classrooms. And so over the last 5 years, the mental health coordinator position was created, and it was spread across Alabama, and we're really thankful for that. But we have so much work to do because one mental health coordinator per district is not enough. We are investing in our kids' futures when we choose to prioritize mental health.
I'll be short and sweet. We need funding to continue the things that we're doing in our schools. I agree with everyone on this panel. We need money for buses, teacher retention, mental health. So funding.
Thank you all.
Is there any program or initiative that any of you have in place, we have just a little under a minute left, that other schools should be watching right now that's really working?
We're actually able to provide free dual enrollment for all of our students. We had over 500 high school students in our district participate in free college classes, and so that's something that we're really blessed to be able to do with a partnership with the community college and also with the city of Jasper and also with our Walker Area Community Foundation. And it's changing lives. It's making a difference in our school system.
I know something that Dennis is working on is career tech education and the investment that we all need to be making in workforce development.
Yes, sir.
To address the needs of our future in all areas of our workforce and not just the education field.
Thank you all. Yeah, really, we really appreciate it, obviously. Thank you all for joining us for this special town hall, and thank you again to each of our panelists for being part of this important discussion, Crisis in the Classroom and the Path Forward for Alabama Schools.
And stay with ABC 3340 for continuing coverage.
ABC 3340 News starts now with the Weather Authority.
Good evening, I'm Muriel Bailey. A hot, humid, and stormy